listening to Zap Night, a video game review podcast. Join your hosts Danny, Kaylee, Seth, and Evan as we review video games from all systems and all genres.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Zap Night. Today we are talking about Half-Life 2. And something just went down, and that thing that went down was me looking down at the piece of paper to see what Seth graded this. But we'll talk about that later.
Indeed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Man, I was going to go see Spider-Man with you later tonight.
Well, that dates the episode.
Yeah.
So, Half-Life 2, everyone knows the apparently best game ever, quote unquote.
According to PC Gamer here on the back of the Half-Life 2 box.
Well, also looking at the back of this box, it was developed by Valve.
Yes, it was
with the creepiest logos on the planet.
It was developed by Valve, capital V-A-L-V, and then lowercase e, but the e is up.
Seriously, every Valve game I played, like the opening cutscene where it says Valve, it's always got this weird picture of a guy with a valve in his head.
And actually before that, it was like if you play the Xbox version, it's the valve. It's in the guy's eye.
Yeah, that freaked me out.
Actually, they redid it to where it's the same one with the guy with the valve on the back of the guy's head, but he slowly starts turning his head at you, and right before he actually sees his face, it just goes back and it says Valve.
Whoa!
So it's pretty cool. So yeah.
It's been on a lot of platforms.
It has been on a lot of platforms. It released initially for PC only, and then it got a Xbox release the next year, and then it would be come out as part of the Orange Box, which was on the 360 and the PS3. And it did release on the PC for the Orange Box, but it wasn't like a bundle. It was just kind of all the separate apps that you just got for one price.
Orange Box was ported to the Xbox One as well.
Yep. Backwards compatibility.
And apparently, I looked at the Wikipedia for this one. Apparently, it was on Mac and also Android.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's on Android phones?
I know Portal was, for sure.
Wow.
I didn't know the whole thing was on Android, though. That's pretty cool. But
do you have the exact release date?
I know. But it was released in 2004 initially, and then re-released in 2005, and then 2007. What does it say? November 16th, 2004. So
yes.
For all you kids who got this game on Christmas, you guys were lucky. You were lucky people. You guys, what is that, a fly? Get out of here.
You're okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You tell me if you didn't get this game Christmas 2004, you wouldn't be like,
dude,
whoa.
In 2004, the only game I was playing was SpongeBob, the movie game, and ATV Off-Road Fury 2.
It's got a big jump from SpongeBob.
Test Drive was cool too.
Test Drive was a good one too.
But we're getting off topic.
Let's talk more about Half-Life 2 because that's all I want to do. So we're going to talk about the story. The story, if you didn't play the first one, you might be a little lost going into this one.
That'd be me.
That would be him. That's him right there.
I still have questions.
Yeah, hopefully I can answer them for you. So the game begins. You don't really know. General consensus, it's 20 years after the initial game, as Alex, who was a baby in the first one, she is now, in her 20s.
Is this the future? Like,
technically, yeah. Well, actually, I think now this is where Half-Life 2 would be, because Half-Life 1 was anywhere between 1998 and 2000. So we're at the point where, yeah.
So maybe Half-Life 3 coming out soon?
Maybe, probably not.
The way it ended, it left it wide open.
It did leave it wide open. But anyway, so the game begins, like I said, about 20 years after the events of Half-Life, and the G-Man inserts Gordon onto a train going into City 17.
Okay, one question.
Yes,
I've had so far. Mm-hmm. Who's G-Man?
The G-Man, he is...
Why is G-Man?
Okay, so there's no one can really define G-Man, but it's like he's just this, I don't know, he's just this like supernatural kind of being.
Where'd he come from?
We don't know.
We're never gonna know.
Never gonna find out. That's what's amazing about this, but also I can understand people hate it. So the G-Man inserts you into City 17. Where you find head crabs, and you find these soldiers who aren't really acting human, and all your fellow humans who are dressed the exact same are telling you like, oh, don't drink the water, don't talk too loud. They're always listening.
Well, I mean, that's standard protocol whenever you go to a different country. Anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't drink the water.
Don't drink the water. They put there's one specific guy who's like, don't drink the water. They put something in it to make you forget. I don't remember how I got here. He said it exactly like that.
All I remember is it makes you forget.
I makes you forget. I can't remember what I forgot. So you end up going through this this train station, and you end up getting caught by security, and you get pulled to the side by this one guy, and he takes off his mask to reveal him as Barney,
the dinosaur.
The dinosaur, and just hey Gordon.
It's your friend Barney from Black Mesa.
Right. Barney comes in. If you guys don't know who Barney is, you see him a couple times in the original Half-Life, and he is the main protagonist of Half-Life Blue Shift, which is an expansion pack for the original Half-Life. He ends up getting in contact with Dr. Kleiner, who is one of your fellow scientists from Black Mesa, and they instruct you to get to Kleiner's lab, where they can get you to safety. So you end up making your way through the city to get to Kleiner's lab, and you end up running into trouble with some Combine soldiers. When you're going through an apartment building, they end up detecting that there's some unidentified guy, and they're like, oh, we gotta go get this guy. Alex Vance, the daughter of Eli Vance, another one of your fellow scientists from Black Mesa, she ends up saving you, and she goes with you the rest of your way to Kleiner's lab.
And that's Alex with a Y.
Yes, that is Alyx.
I didn't know that going in.
Yeah, that's it.
But I know that now.
Yes, you do. So you get to Kleiner's lab, and he gives you the HEV suit, the same suit that you had in Black Mesa. Excuse me.
Why don't you have it again?
What do you mean?
Why don't you just start out with it?
Because when he puts you in the stasis, it just takes your physical being. It doesn't take everything.
What the heck is stasis?
It's like suspended animation. So essentially, he was just in a void of nothingness.
For 20 years?
Yeah, he was in a void of nothingness. For him, it was probably instantaneous. But in reality, it was 20 years.
Is that why it looks like he didn't even age?
Yeah, he didn't age. He was in suspended animation. He was just kind of there. He was essentially
now that makes more sense.
Yeah, he was essentially T-posing for about 20 years.
Because, spoiler alert, at the end,
there's no spoilers. You guys have played this game.
G-Man walks out and stops everything. I was really confused.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So where was I? Okay, so you get to Kleiner's lab, you get the HEV suit, and you are getting onto this teleporter, which will take you to Eli's lab. As you get onto the teleporter and you get raised up,
crabs.
Kleiner's pet head crab, Lamar, ends up weighing into the field and kind of messing up the machine, making it go haywire.
When you teleport, you combine with the head crab, and you're half head crab.
Not true.
It's just like the fly.
Not true, because you see Lamar jump into the desert. But that's an interesting theory. So you end up teleporting all these weird places, the desert, into the ocean, almost getting killed by a giant fish monster.
That one guy looking at things on his computer.
Oh yeah, Dr. Breen. He's talking to a what were they called? How do I not know this?
Whoa, Mr.
I have the book right here. He was the advisors. He was talking to an advisor when Goran ended up teleporting into his little office, and he's like, "Who are you? How'd you get in here?" He ended up teleporting back and forth between Eli and Kleiner's lab. Finally, teleporting outside Kleiner's lab right behind him, and he instructs you to just get out of here.
It's like, I can't teleport you, so you're just gonna have to hoof it, pal.
Right? Do you hear those fireworks?
I thought those were gunshots.
Yeah, someone's just shooting. So you get down, you get out of sight. Barney finds you. He gives you the crowbar and tasks you with getting to Eli's lab on foot. So you end up going through the old canals.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you go through all the canals until you can get to an airboat. The resistance group, they fill up the airboat with gas, and they instruct you to follow the river. That'll take you all the way to Eli's lab. My guess is, what's wrong?
I didn't like that.
You didn't like water hazard?
No.
Why not?
I didn't like water hazard, and I didn't like root canal either.
Why? Root canal is like one of my favorites because it's so open and it's great for it has great shooter sections and speed sections. Were you just not good with the controls, or?
Yeah, it's my problem. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so you end up getting to Eli's lab after. Yeah, you ditch the airboat by the docks. You get in there.
Thank God.
Yeah, you meet Dr. Mosman. Who she leads you down to Eli. At Eli, you run into him. He lost his leg At some point, my guess is during Black Mesa, the incidents, something. If you don't remember in the beginning of Half-Life, after the incident, you go back up and you find Kleiner and Eli kind of stuck in the basement. So as to how they got out, we don't know.
What's the incident?
The resonance cascade. Essentially, the G-Man had this element that you guys were putting into this machine, and it was the element was unstable. And Eli wanted to shut down the project, but they were like, "Oh, just run it." And it ended up opening a portal to Zen, which is where the aliens came from.
The Combine?
Not the Combine.
Where'd they come from? Who are the Combine?
So the Combines actually, how the Combine came to Earth is they saw the portal from Zen to Earth. So they ended up going into the portal, and they ended up. I was about to go over this as you get to Eli's lab, because just where you get to see all the posters and everything of like the newspapers and everything of what happened. So basically, the Combine took over, and they ended up all the world leaders ended up surrendering to the Combine after only 7 hours. Yeah, Dr. Breen, who was the he was the administrator at Black Mesa. He became the head honcho. So he was like the head guy. He had communication with the Combine. He was like he's a bad guy because he's with the Combine, but like he kind of made peace, but kind of made it living hell. He made it living hell for the civilians.
Bad guy.
Yeah, but he's still a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, so that's how the Combine took over. So you get to Eli's lab, you regroup with Alex, and you finally get the gravity gun, which is
wait, I finally understand why it's called Half-Life. Because Half-Life in science is just the decaying of an element.
Yes.
And you were saying that they had this unstable element, and they messed with it.
Yeah, every single...
Did G-Man get his powers from that element?
No, he's
always been like that?
Yeah.
All right. That's...
Okay, so one more thing you should know about the G-Man is he always talks about his employers. It's like, oh, my employers want to offer a job. I doubt it. So my guess is that he was instructed to bring the element to Black Mesa.
He was instructed to cause all of Half-Life.
He doesn't care.
He cared enough to put Gordon in stasis for some reason.
Only because his G-Man's employers wanted him to.
Yeah.
G-Man wouldn't have just done it.
G-Man's
he's kind of a
oddball.
G-Man's kind of just he's the other guy. He's not anyone's special. I mean, he is special, but like he isn't the highest power. We don't know who the highest power is.
We could. Half-Life 3 happened.
If Half-Life 3 happened, which it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, my guess, reboot. But anyway, so you get the gravity gun, you play with it out.
Okay, I will say, never mind, I'll bring it up later. Go ahead. That was probably the greatest part of the game. Was the gravity gun.
With the gravity gun section with Dog, the big robot that Eli built.
I found out it's not DOG.
Yeah, it's D0G. Yeah, I have that actually right there. So
why?
Dog is Alex's like little just pet that she kept adding on to like parts, so he ended up being really big and really strong. And then the Combine attack. They find out where you are, and you have to get out of there. How do you get out of there? You go through Ravenholm, a zombie-infested,
and
mining
where did the
town.
zombies come from?
So the head crabs came from Zen.
They're aliens.
Yes.
Well, I figured that they were aliens, but I didn't know because they're not the same as the other aliens.
There's the head crabs. The only aliens that came over from Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 were the head crabs and the Vortigons.
Yeah, the tongue things.
The tongue things, yeah. So what the head crabs do is they get on. They're kind of like the Flood from Halo. Yeah. They're kind of like a parasite almost, and they get in there and they take control.
I wonder if that's where Halo got their idea, because they are very similar. Although they said they get more inspiration from Alien than anything.
Yeah, actually, Half-Life 2 and 1 is very inspired by Stephen King's The Mist.
What?
Yeah.
It's nothing like The Mist.
It's just like the design of the aliens.
Oh.
Yeah, if you actually look in this book, you can see a lot of those.
Is that why it's all misty on this cover?
Yeah, kind of. Kind of looks like he is walking through Ravenholm. I don't know. Yeah, this book was very rare. It's called Raising the Bar. It's like $400, and I bought it for $5 at a garage sale.
I walk a lonely road all the way through Ravenholm.
That was actually pretty. That was pretty dope. That was actually pretty good. Well, I don't know why they connected.
X Half-Life 3. Make it happen, Valve.
Maybe we'll see what happens if Valve decides to start making games again and not just cash grabs. So where was I? Oh yeah, so you go through Ravenholm. You got the gravity gun. You got your arsenal weapons. You got the pistol, the machine gun. You got the crowbar. And you end up getting the shotgun, which is great for headshots. Obviously, the zombies getting those head grabs
all the time in Gmod. Probably the best thing to come out of Half-Life 2.
What is
Gmod?
Gmod? Probably. It's definitely one of the best sandbox games I've ever played in my life.
Minecraft's better though.
Yeah. Yeah. But so after you get out of Ravenholm, you meet up with some more resistance fighters and some Combine soldiers. Not just the cops, the Metro cops. You actually run into the Combine soldiers. They send them out to come after you. You link up with the resistance. They tell you to go to Nova Well, actually, no. Alex gets in contact with you and instructs you to go to Nova Prospect, where Eli is being held captive. So you take the highway in a buggy, which is also a fun level.
Oh,
it's much longer. It's much longer than Water Hazard for sure.
Yeah, it is.
But it was
much longer.
But it marked the return of the Tau cannon, which was a weapon in Half-Life 1. And now while you couldn't wield it, it was on your car, and it was still pretty fun. You also get the little, I forgot what they were called, the eggs of the antlions. You can use that against the Combine.
Antlions are aliens too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they might have been like a bunch of zombies just combined.
No, they're like, I don't know, they're like insects or whatever.
Human centipede style.
Oof. Maybe the antlion king, those big things you face, maybe, but I don't know. These things, you can probably see it on yours. That thing,
yeah,
maybe. But you end up getting that. You can control antlions to attack Combine. You do have to attack Combine to get into Nova Prospect. And once you get into Nova Prospect, you kind of work around a little bit. You have to fight a bunch of Combine soldiers. You have to do some puzzles. That's one of the things about this game. There's a lot of puzzles.
Yeah. And I thought that was creative, but I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. You meet back up with Alex. You guys find Eli. You bring him down to the teleporter where you're going to teleport back to Kleiner's lab. You also find Mossman, who's a double agent, working with Dr. Breen. So you end up finding her first and taking her kind of hostage as she knows the coordinates and how to use the pad to, use the entanglement system to get back to Kleiner's lab. But as you guys are getting to the teleporter, she ends up hopping in the teleporter for Eli and teleports them to somewhere. My guess is just the top of the tower of the Citadel with Dr. Breen, leaving Gordon and Alex to fight until they can cool down the teleporter and teleport to Kleiner's lab. But since there was a glitch in the system, it ended up taking for them it was instantaneous. But it took them 5 days in real time to get to Kleiner's lab. And in that time, the explosion at Nova Prospect marked the uprising of the civilian resistance. So you end up back at Kleiner's lab. He instructs you to go find Barney out in the streets, and you have to start fighting through Combine soldiers, some some antlions or whatnot. This is a section I was kind of about. With just the street fighting.
The street wars.
It was still kind of cool because you got to command your group and you got through some cool stuff.
It felt out of place.
And it was kind of slow. But once you actually got to the Citadel, it picked back up for me at least. So you find Barney. He leads a raid on the Citadel, and a bunch of Combine guards and the Striders, which are these giant towering Combine synths, who can fire this really powerful beam at you.
Yeah.
Which is not fun to dodge, especially if you play episode 1, where that's the entire ending of the game, is just fighting Striders.
Episodes, do they come after Half-Life 2 in the story?
Yeah, I'll talk about that more.
Okay.
But you get into the Citadel, you have to fight your way to the top. And before you get to the top, you end up going through a weapon verification, magnifying thing. It takes away all your weapons and dissolves them, except for your gravity gun. And it charges it up, and you get the super gravity gun, which has the ability to grab people.
Yeah, that was...
kind of sucking the soul out of them and just, kill them. It was kind of messed up, but it was also kind of epic.
Yeah, grabbing a combine guy and just throwing him at the others.
You throw them at the others, you can rip a screen off the wall.
I noticed you could like damage a lot more things with that.
Yeah.
Like ripping like plates and stuff off the wall.
Yep. So you're essentially just using that for the rest of the game. You get into the like little holding kind of cell, and Brain knows what you're up to, and he ends up taking you all the way to the top. Now you're held captive. Mossman's there, and so is Gordon. Well, of course, Gordon's there.
Yeah.
And so is Eli and Alex. They're both held captive.
Both of them slaughtered right there.
No. Well, no. unless you're playing it through Gmod and their character models are just dead for some reason. Mossman though ends up betraying Breen and saving Eli and Alex. Though Breen gets away with the super gravity gun, and goes to his, I don't know what it is. It's some sort of like, it's a device. He's pretty much going to try and merge his body with some sort of host body. I think of the body of an advisor.
That's what that was?
Yeah, those big egg bean looking things with the face. Yeah, that's the thing. Those.
You.
Yeah. But it was the only way he would have survived in that environment, is if they put him in a host body. But you end up racing down there after him, and you end up destroying the device with these orbs of like pure energy that are kind of powering.
I was wondering what they were.
Yeah, it's just like energy orbs.
It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. You take him down. Brain falls down. He dies.
Alex runs out.
Alex runs out, congratulates you, and right as she's like, "Oh, we can save more time," the Citadel explodes. But the G-Man once again stops time release for you, and gives you kind of an ending monologue. I don't know if that's a thing. Monologue's only in the beginning, right?
No.
Oh, so ending monologue, right?
Yeah.
So I was correct.
Monologue can be anytime. Monologue just means speaking by yourself.
Got you. So he gave you a monologue, basically kind of questioning whether or not you will be needed again and put you back in suspended animation.
Valve? No.
Valve? Nope. Obviously, though, there was sequels as the episodes came out to continue the story.
What are those about?
So episode 1 takes place right after. Did you play the episodes by any chance? No?
I played the Xbox version.
Oh, okay. Actually, I was going to ask you, did you end up being able to get it to work on the 360 with plugging in the
update? It didn't really do that much.
Really?
Huh. Yeah. But actually, I think it looked worse after. But
really? Oh. Well, so episode 1, it takes place right after the explosion. The Vortigons end up rescuing Alex from the explosion, and then they ended up pulling you out of suspended animation. Yeah, they ended up getting control away from the G-Man, and they pull you out, and you get found by Alex and Dog. You're underneath some rubble. Now you're trying to get out of the city, as the Citadel is very unstable, and it could blow up again at any moment and destroy.
Oh, you mean like
city.
that one guy was talking about, Breen? He was like, if you destroy this, the whole town's gonna fall apart.
Yeah, essentially,
like,
yeah.
I don't care.
I don't care. So you end up going out on through the underground system, that's a really long section. It's also kind of difficult just because you don't really have weapons right away. All you have is the gravity gun. You do end up going back into the Citadel to kind of secure it a little bit to buy yourself more time to get out of the city. And you have the super gravity gun for a small time, but then you lose it as you get back out of the Citadel. Then fight your way through the streets of City 17. You're still facing Combine. You're still facing the aliens, and you're trying to get as many survivors to the trains to ride them out of City 17, including Barney, who has a group of survivors at the train station. But they need your help moving survivors back and forth to get to the trains. You end up getting on the train. You have to fight some Striders before you and Alex get on a train. And as you're leaving City 17, the Citadel blows up, and it knocks your train off the track. Episode 2 picks up right after that. The train, obviously, it's in shambles. You're in the middle of the forest. White Forest. Actually, funny little tidbit. Alex was supposed to die in episode 2. She was going to be brought back to life, but she was supposed to actually die. Your train was supposed to be hanging over the cliff. She would have fallen, kind of hit her head on the way down, and then she would be dead, and then the Vortigons would have revived her then. Instead, they replaced it with her getting stabbed by another Combine synth, and then you have to go get the larva extract from the antlions to save her. You then just work your way back to the White Forest base where the Resistance with Dr. Kleiner, Eli, and a new Doctor, the other guy. I haven't played episode 2 in a while. You end up launching a missile into the Citadel to contain it and stop the supercharge from reaching everywhere else. So you end up stopping the core. And then you also, I probably should have mentioned, when you were in the first game in episode 1, when you were in the Citadel, you end up getting like some data from the computer in the Citadel. And when you get in episode 2, you end up watching what was on it, and it was Dr. Mossman, who was at the Winter base, the Kraken base. I don't know when she went there. Sometime after Half-Life 2. That gets attacked. And they also find the Borealis, which is a cargo ship that was under the ownership of Aperture. Which, if you guys know, Aperture Laboratories is the Portal, is from Portal. So you and Alex go to, embark on another journey. And right as you're about to get on the helicopter, 2 advisors come in, end up killing Eli. The dog comes in and kills one, and the other one just goes off, leaving on a cliffhanger. And that was in the summer of 2007.
2007?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yep. We haven't seen anything of it since. We have Half-Life 2 Lost Coast, but that wasn't really a part of the story. That was kind of just a tech demo to show how the Source engine would work. But you got it free if you have Half-Life 2 on the PC. So that was the story. Oh, I knocked it around a little bit. That was the story, and for someone who played Half-Life 1, I understand it. It's all good. I really enjoyed the story. But for someone who hasn't played Half-Life 1, it's kind of hard to just jump into.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts was easier to get into.
Yeah, because at least with Kingdom Hearts, to kind of explain a little bit more, Half-Life 2, you kind of have to find, out on your own.
Yeah, I had to look a lot of stuff up.
Yeah. But that was what was kind of cool about Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 1 is... me and Danny actually talked about this a couple years ago when we did Half-Life 1 and
Anniversary,
kind of, yeah, but it's same month 2 years ago. But you have to talk to people, security guards or scientists, and they'll kind of say what they know, like, oh, the military's coming, or in Half-Life 2, it's like, they gave you tidbits about the Combine or something like that. That's what's cool. It adds more exploration and adventure as opposed to a typical shooter like Call of Duty, which is just linear and just get to the end of the level and that's it. You know everything you need to know.
One thing I will say about Half-Life 2 is definitely not linear.
Yeah.
It was something else.
And that's cool. As a shooter, and especially at a time when shooters were so simplistic, though some people might argue that Doom and Quake aren't simplistic. Those games are hard. It's like looking back at it now.
They might be hard, but they're very simple. This game had to be out of the box for it to be successful. Not out of the box, not the orange box, but it had to be different to get there. Is it the best game ever made? No.
I think it's a contender.
I think it's far from being the best game.
I don't think there's really any game, though, that can be considered the best game ever made. I don't.
I don't know if I know any either. But this is definitely not it. I know that.
I think this is one of the best shooters ever made. And especially at the time, 2004, you had Halo 1, you had Halo 2.
Halo 2 was a better game than this.
Story-wise, maybe there's more lore.
Not even story-wise.
I don't know. I mean, Halo 2 is amazing, don't get me wrong, but Half-Life 2 is its engine and the way everything works. I mean, it just uses Havoc and it uses Source.
What do you think did more for the game industry? Halo 2 or Half-Life 2?
I think they both did crazy amounts for the industry. Halo was limited to Microsoft.
Yeah.
This was everywhere. This was on the PC. This was on the consoles. Then it was on everything. So, I mean, if you look at it in terms of,
Like Halo, yes, it did a lot for shooters and it did a lot for the Xbox.
Halo 2 especially made online multiplayer the thing.
Right. And I don't think the shooters would be the same if Halo 2 or Halo 1 wasn't ever made. But I can see a lot of inspiration from the first Halo that came from the first Half-Life. And Halo 2 to Half-Life 2, not so much, but I definitely think that Half-Life 2 is a great game, is a contender for best shooter. Now, if you're talking best shooter 2019 back, obviously there's shooters that came out afterwards that definitely are better than Half-Life 2. But I still
think
you're
just saying at the time of 2004, this was the best.
At the time, I think this was one of the best shooters, and I still think that this game is a pillar. And I feel like this game needed to happen.
I feel like this game is overrated.
You think it's overrated?
I think it's overrated. So many people.
I don't hear that many people talk about it, though.
Not anymore, because they haven't done anything with it in 12 years.
But even back then, this was like a PC game. It was kind of like Doom and Quake.
But everyone knew what Half-Life, at least knew the mascots and the G-Man.
Right.
Might not know where he came from, but we know of the G-Man.
I feel like most people, though, they got into Half-Life because they played a different Valve game, as opposed to just being their first one. I know a lot of people who got into Valve because they played Left 4 Dead or Counter-Strike or Team Fortress, and they're like, oh, I want to check out some other stuff. And then they got into Half-Life, and they're like, this game isn't as good as their other games or other games.
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead, which is also... Now that game is overrated.
I've only played the second one.
Yeah. It's just the first one, only it's the guns are closer to your face and you got someone named Alice.
I like the second one. I liked it more than this.
You liked Left 4 Dead 2 more than
Half-Life 2? Yeah, for sure.
That's not good.
And I like Portal 2 more.
That's not... Oh, well, Portal 2, obviously, yeah. Portal 2 is a great game. I like Portal 1, though, better
than Portal 2. Of the 3 Valve games I've played...
I don't know. I don't know. I just think this game it had to come out.
Well, you're right. I will give it some credit because without Half-Life, we wouldn't have gotten Portal. So
we wouldn't have gotten Portal. No, we probably
still would have got.
We still would have gotten Portal.
Just no connections.
It just would have it would have been no connections to Half-Life. So yeah, like I said, I think most of the gaming community will agree with me when I say that this game is, like I said, a pillar. If someone doesn't like this game, then they don't like the game. If you don't like this game, then you don't like this game.
I didn't say I didn't like it. It's okay.
If you don't like this game, you don't like this game.
I'm not polar about it. It's just I don't think it's the greatest game ever, but it's not a bad game.
Right. But let's get into the graphics. This was the first game.
Wait, what do you rate the story first?
Oh, the story? I gave it a 9.
I gave it a 5.
Give it a 5?
Because I did not get it.
Okay. I do think you should play Half-Life 1, though. If you ever get a chance. If you ever feel the need to, it's definitely worth it. Just don't play the PS2 version.
Oh,
I think Danny can tell you that. Don't play the PS2
Maybe I'll just watch
version.
your guys' podcast.
Yeah, you go. That works, too.
Do you go over the story?
No, actually.
Really?
No, I was really nervous when I did this the first time.
Oh.
I think I always cringe when I first start listening to it because, Danny's like, we have Evan on the podcast. And I'm like, hello. And I was like, oh, if I could take anything back from that, it would be that one right there.
Hello there.
And, but I actually did have this book with me and I would flipping it open. I was going in.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Right. But graphics, this is the first game to use the Source engine. Which would be Valve's main engine from 2004 to about 2015, 16, until moving on to Source 2, which we still haven't seen really anything of. We saw Dota 2, kinda. We saw Artifact, kinda, but we haven't actually seen a mainstay game in Source 2. But the Source engine, it's their own in-house engine, kind of with the Gold Source. It was just a modified version of the Quake engine. The Source engine was built from the ground up within Valve. It uses the Havoc physics system, which
most games do.
Which most games do now. At the time, this was kind of, I want to say this game, it wasn't the first, obviously, but this was like one of the games where people were, this was where people saw it in this game. People were like, oh, that's a really nice physics engine. And it is a really good physics engine. It's used in most games now, and it's
used in Halo.
It is used in Halo, and it's really good. The Source engine, it's at the time 2004, it made a lot of things about games in the past look really good. Like the water. The water looked really good, I thought, in 2004. So you're judging it because you're looking at it now, opposed to other games you've played recently.
Maybe you should let me talk first.
I'm gonna let you talk first, but you always make these faces, and I know what you're gonna say. So go ahead.
I did like the graphics of the game. I gave it a 9 out of a 10.
You gave it a 9 out of 10?
Because at the time, it might not look good nowadays, but it was pretty revolutionary. All the facial animation, all the people looked like people. They weren't that choppy and blocky. And the environments, while they might have been blocky,
and they
had very good textures.
They did.
And it looked like real life. And that was a lot of the base for like Gmod and stuff, which still uses, I don't know if it uses the same engine, but it's something similar.
It's Source, yeah.
But it's still keeping up with modern graphics.
Right. I think
But the strong suit is definitely not the water. That's all I was going to say.
I wasn't. That's not the strongest suit. That was just. I was giving an example.
GameCube is where the water.
I was going to give more examples. So the water. One thing that they really touched on, in their tech demo was, if you step on sand, it sounds like sand. If you step on concrete, it sounds like concrete. If you shoot wood, if you shoot wood, it sounds like wood. It cracks like wood. It blisters and breaks like wood. Yeah, but this came up before Minecraft.
I'm just saying, all you gotta do is record a crunching sound. I'm like, oh, you're on some wood.
Well, no, I'm talking. Well, that was also just an example. Like mainly, like if you shoot glass, it's not just gonna just turn into dust.
There is a lot of good physics in the game.
If you, like I said, if you shoot wood, it won't just explode. It will crack and it will splinter and it'll break. And I think it definitely is from the help of Havoc, for sure. It's definitely, especially with the ragdolls. They complemented the game for sure. Obviously, I don't think this game was. Obviously, by the time this game came out, the Gold Source engine was kind of like going down, as Valve had used that from every game from Half-Life to, Counter-Strike. So it was time for a new engine. And so I think they took about 3 or 4 years to build this engine. And then they started working on this game in late 2001.
And when did the first one come out?
1998.
Gotcha.
Yep. So the graphics, I gave it a 10. You gave it a 9. If you guys haven't played a game using the Source engine, I quote Reggie, "What's wrong with you?" Obviously, like I said, Valve uses in everything, from this to Portal to Left 4 Dead to Counter-Strike, and now they're finally moving away from the Source engine, moving to Source 2. I don't know how much different it is. Like I said, we haven't really gotten a good game that utilizes it yet. And basically a first-person
shooter. Are they
ever
going to make another game?
I don't know. Probably not, but I mean, if they can try, that'd be kind of cool. So the gameplay, it's a traditional shooter. You shoot, you look. That
is true. You do shoot and look.
You shoot and look, and that's
walk
most
and
shooters.
Jump.
Yeah, you can walk, jump, you can swim, kind of. It's really just pressing A, essentially, just to go up. So nothing too special about it. What I would say was pretty neat was its weapon wheel. In the Xbox version, it's more of a weapon, kind of not really a wheel, but it's like, D-pad up gives you a selection of weapons, D-pad right, left, down. While in the PC version,
I really like that.
In the PC version, it was just like a scroll.
Yeah, I would have preferred like that GTA style, like
right. Well, you couldn't really do that with at the time. Like even in Half-Life 1, actually on the PS2 version, they did have the way it is on Gmod, but it was terrible. Like it was so hard to get to the weapon you wanted to get to without dying. While in the PC version, you can just scroll, obviously, and you're good. So for the Xbox versions, they had to.
I played on Xbox, by the way.
Right, he played on the Xbox. I don't know if I
mentioned that.
So with the Xbox, you kind of had to get a different way to get to your weapons without, risking someone dying just trying to get to another weapon. And and it worked. That's how I played it, and I never really had a problem with it. But obviously, if you're playing the PC version, you'll be fine.
So I got a lot to say about the gameplay.
Go ahead.
The best part of the gameplay was probably the gravity gun and utilizing all those cool physics and stuff. Other than that, it is just your standard shooter game without it. But driving vehicles
was a weird issue.
Awful.
It's, I don't know, it kind of does a really bad version of like Halo, where instead of pressing a button to drive, you just move the stick forward.
It's already doing lots of things I don't like.
Right.
I don't like first person driving.
Right. Also,
it's easy in real life.
Also, if you're standing, if you're not moving at all and you try to turn right, you might end up spinning left for some reason and then going forward.
The thing's always moving too.
Right. So it wasn't, the driving sections are not the most memorable, which kind of sucks because those are some of the biggest parts.
I had to do water hazard many times.
Right. Obviously I did it in just one because I know where everything is.
Yeah.
But when I first did it,
even in Gmod, I tried out using the vehicles from Half-Life 2, and it's not any easier to drive.
It's not. Yeah, of course, not any easier. They never updated like the vehicle. The only thing they really updated was the graphics engine, in updates. So, yeah, they were bad all the way around. But yeah, the gravity gun was definitely the highlight, and it's really fun to use.
It is.
It's also really funny. Like, there's a section where you're playing with dog, and you're like, playing catch, and you have the ball. There's like a ball he's playing with, and there's like a little. It's a roller mine. You can shoot it into a basket. You get points. You can also like shoot it out of bounds, and dog's just like, what? Like, he just got rid of his ball. So it was really cool. Obviously, that was definitely the start of the game. But the guns, like the weapons, they weren't bad. I mean, you had all the guns you needed for specific scenarios. You had your pistol for the beginning sections where you weren't up against much, so all you needed was a pistol or a crowbar. With the soldiers, you had your AR-1, the submachine gun with the grenade launcher, as well as the overpulse rifle for infantry, the shotguns for the zombies, the crowbars for really anything, for anything for long distance, the rocket launchers for the gunships, the grenades for taking out groups, and then of course the bait to attack large groups and hordes of antlions. That's the kind of problem I had with Half-Life 1 was that they gave you too many weapons for really no reason. While in Half-Life 2, there actually was a lot of cut weapons in Half-Life 2. There was a lot. And it was all because of redundancy. You didn't need that many like machine guns. There was a lot of machine guns. So they just cut it down to weapons that you would need for specific scenarios, as opposed to just, here's 5 assault rifles, do whatever you want with them.
I will give it props for that. We really didn't need 100,000 of the same weapon. Right.
You had, like I said, the Magnum. The Magnum was really cool. I liked having fun with the Magnum because for the most part, it's a one shot. And when you first pick it up, it's all you need to get to that section. And it's pretty funny because you pick it up and the guy comes to the door and just...
I will say...
The Magnum was pretty fun.
I did like how they incorporated the crowbar into the environment.
Right.
With breaking down boards and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also its use of using anything around you as a weapon. As a gravity gun, pick up a crate, use a weapon, in Ravenholm, there was a bunch of saws and like propane tanks and just stuff. Obviously, it's a mining town. You can use that, against zombies. Shoot a propane tank, lights them on fire. You can use a buzzsaw blade. You can shoot at a group of them, and it'll take out 5 or 6.
Well, even before that, you have the ability to pick up stuff.
Right. Yep. You have your E or X, whichever you're playing on. You can throw items. You can do all that fun stuff.
I never figured out how to throw them.
Oh, it's just trigger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, picking up stuff was kind of hard in the Xbox version.
Oh, yeah, you have to look down. Plus, I actually got to look up, and just trigger. Yeah. But what's funny, though, is that there's the beginning section with the can. You have to walk up to the guy, and it's like, he knocks the can over, it's like, pick up that can. You pick it up, now throw it in the trash. And if you're any gamer of self-respect, you don't put it in the trash, you throw it at him. And then
is that what he said?
Yeah.
I didn't understand him.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to hear because they hate... Yeah.
It sounds like this.
Yeah. It sounds really weird. But that one, you can hear it
I thought that was what you were supposed to do because I couldn't get through, so I'm like, how am I going to make him move? So I just threw the can at him, and he runs at me with its shock stick.
Right. You can actually lock him in the basement behind you. If you lead him down there, You circle around him, go back up. Before it comes up the stairs, if you put the can in between the door and you shut it, it will not open, and you can pretty much lock him downstairs. He's fired.
I'm just kidding.
No, please. So I ended up giving gameplay a 9.
I gave it a 6.
Give it a 6. All right. I also so one more thing I wanted to say about it. I like its use with its shield. It's not really shield. It's suit energy.
I didn't like that.
So it wasn't like I like it because it made sense.
I didn't like the recharge
suit.
stations. I feel like they should have just had health on the go.
Right.
Which essentially isn't all that different. But when you have to take the time to recharge
there is actually, there's the little like shield modules you can pick up, and they give you like 15 plus. Did you not find those? They were everywhere. They were like on the beaten path.
Really?
Yeah, they were just everywhere.
I probably picked them up.
You break open the supply crates. You broke those open, right? There's like little crates.
Most of the time, I was just shooting things.
Okay. Well, there's supply crates. You open up, you can find a little
loot crates before there were loot crates.
Exactly. You had you had first aid kits, ammo, and you had shield modules. So you didn't have to wait to a shield recharge station. You could just pick it up. So they did have it on the go. And then
I bet that would have been real useful to have during water hazard.
I think the intent of water hazard is that you're not supposed to be getting out of the car that much. But
you know what? It happens. Okay.
It does happen. It's a hard level. It's not easy to get the first time. I can tell you from experience, it's not easy. And sand traps on Highway 17 is even worse with the car. The boost, the turbo, doesn't really work. You have to get over one bridge, and if you use it anywhere else, it either messes you up or damages you at some point. So,
yeah.
Take the driving sections for what you will.
I did like the puzzling things of the gameplay, though.
I did like the puzzle.
It was creative because not a lot of shooters were doing that at the time.
Right.
And something they greatly invested in with Portal.
Right, exactly. And then with Portal, they fully embrace them. That's a game we have to do someday, is Portal.
Portal 2.
Portal. We can actually do Portal 2 together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, music. This game's music isn't as good as the first one. I
didn't even notice any music. There was barely any.
There was music. It was more situational. It would only play during...
It was not memorable.
Yeah, it was not memorable, except for the one that everyone remembers, and it's the... it's really early in Root Canal when you're just running through the train station shooting guards. That one everyone like remembers just because of its like beat.
I don't remember it.
Well, you've only played it once.
It's dabbled.
But it sounded good. Before I rated this one, it was actually my rating was lower until I actually went to the original soundtrack on YouTube and I listened to all of them, and it's actually like decent music. It's like,
too bad you can't hear it.
Yeah, it's like a mix of like EDM and like lo-fi. And it sounds really good. Like, it's technical, like the first Half-Life. It's not like, typical shooter where it's, especially like Doom, heavy metal or something like punk rock. It's exactly. It's nice, and it's enjoyable, to a point to where like you can like listen to it just at any time. It's like, oh, this is just another song. So, I'm listening to a song from the Half-Life 2 soundtrack. No. So it is good. So I ended up giving it an 8.
I gave it a 3.
Give it a 3. You couldn't hear it though.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it.
I actually had given it a 4 beforehand.
It really wasn't all that.
It comes and goes. And if you don't listen to the full songs like on YouTube, you don't know what it sounds like.
Most of the time there was dead silence if I wasn't shooting.
Right. So the reason I gave it an 8 is because obviously I did go on to it and I did listen to it and it was enjoyable. But yeah, it's in game not that great as opposed to Half-Life 1 where it was more.
So Valve, if you're listening, if you're making Half-Life 3,
if you're making Half-Life 3, which I know you're not, if you're making at least a game, please hire Hans Zimmer or someone of equal likeness.
Martin O'Donnell,
Grant Kirkhope.
That would be something.
Overall, I gave it, obviously I am a little bit biased, but I did give it a 9 for my overall notes.
5.
You had a 5?
Because I'm not polar about it.
Yeah. And that's absolutely fine. I know leading up to this one, I was always like, oh, Half-Life 2 is the best. That was just kind of a meme. This is my favorite game of all time, but I will sit here and say that the fact that PC Gamer said this is the best game ever made is a fallacy. Him and me have played much better shooters, Halo 2 and Halo 1, even though we lampooned Halo 1.
And somehow it still got a better score than Halo 2.
Halo 2, and I was like, ugh. Maybe
doesn't make sense.
Maybe when we do Halo 1, where are they now? Or Halo 2, where are they now? We can
Halo 1 anniversary.
We can exactly. We can adjust. So I give it a 45 out of 50. You did
29 out of 50.
29 out of 50.
Getting a 74.
That's a C.
Could that be the lowest score
that we've done? Or
that we've done?
That we've done?
Because we pretty much do games that we like.
I think me and Danny gave Half-Life 1. What did we give Half-Life 1? Like, I don't know. That was 2 years ago. It was probably something like a B or something. But I'm pretty sure as a 17-year-old, I was pretty much just giving like 10, 9, 8, like 10. So it was okay, though. But yeah, so Half-Life 2, it's a good time. Bad times. Normal times. Coming up next, we have Danny and Lori or Kaylee? Kaylee, you guys are doing Spyro. You guys are bringing back Spyro, about 3. And then after that, we are doing
Lego Star Wars, the complete saga.
Yeah, doing the whole thing 1 through 6.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll be fun because that's another good game from my childhood. I played it on the Wii, though I think we're going to try and play it together on the Xbox.
It's going to be a good time.
It'll be a good time with Legos.
Some games.
Unlike some games. Sonic Adventure.
I like Sonic Adventure.
That's an argument for another day. So thank you guys for watching. Go check us out. Instagram, Facebook. We have a new series that just started. Zapcast.
Zapchats.
Zapcast. Either way, it's a fun time. We had a good time. Zapchats.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you guys later.
Zap on.
Zap off.